And a good day, family. Ron Holland here, host of Community Voices on Old School 105.3 and Praise 100.9. Today's program is brought to you by JT's Kia of Rock Hill, 840 North Anderson Road. Listen, family, we're going to have a very important discussion this morning. Too much of our conversation around mental health, it really revolves around when a tragedy occurs. That dynamic has got to change. And as long as I'm on the airwaves, we're going to have this conversation. So I had an opportunity to talk with Fonda Bryant about a North Carolina march, NAMI North Carolina actually walk that's going to be occurring in probably 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about that particular walk. But I wanted to have a conversation around mental illness and mental health. Fonda Bryant, she is from the National Alliance on Mental Health. Also, we have Doug Middleton here. He is a safety for the New York Jets. You know, I'm from Jersey, man.
What part? What part?
Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I know you. Yeah. So you know what? We're gonna talk about football. We ain't gonna talk about.
All righty then. Just leave me out.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that.
All right.
Now listen, Fonda, I'm so glad that you're here because, you know, aside having the walk that's coming up, and obviously it's an important thing, mental illness, we often wait for the tragedy to happen before we have the conversation. Why do we wait so long for this conversation to occur, and why do we wait for tragedies?
Because mental health is always viewed in a negative light. As you notice, it's ratings for the media.
Yeah.
Every time there's a mass shooting or murder-suicide, it's always connected to mental health.
Yeah.
And it drives ratings, and it also keeps society in fear of us. It keeps the stigma going, and instead of being proactive, what we should be getting out here educating people so these tragedies won't happen, we continue to do something after the effect. Because if that young man in Florida, Nicholas Cruz, would have gotten the help that he needed, the teachers, the counselors, the students, we wouldn't even be having a conversation about Parkland High School.
Sure. And what's so disappointing and even disconcerting is that we continue to lurch from tragedy to tragedy.
Yes.
How disappointing is that for you?
It's very disappointing, and it's very frustrating because for every 20 steps we take to get out here and show that we're just like everybody else with a mental health condition, we get knocked back 15. And it just, you have to keep getting up and saying, hey, not everyone that has a mental health condition is dangerous. And also, again, we remind people, if people can get the help, early intervention, if people know where the resources are, the help, they can get the help and become productive citizens. This young man had an opportunity, if they would have known where to go get him the help. His family members didn't know a thing about the police that have been trained in mental health. So there were a lot of balls dropped in this, and we gotta start doing better with mental health.
Yeah, now, of course, as everyone knows, mental health revolves around what is happening, the functions of the brain. And Doug, I want to bring you in this conversation. Of course, being in football, there is a danger of being hit and obviously some impact on the brain. But more importantly, the idea of not dealing with the issue.
Right.
How's the NFL been with regard to this issue?
Well, in the NFL, you always have a psychiatrist on site, you know, somebody that you can always talk to. But in the end, you know, just like anything else, you tend to deal with a lot of these problems on your own.
Yeah.
And sometimes as an NFL athlete, that's where the struggles begin, feeling like you're alone in these situations when that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
You know, you can reach out and get that help and find the people that you need. You know, you have the NFL, you have all the resources you need to access the help, but sometimes people just don't do it.
Yeah.
I want to touch back to an incident, you know, talked about the Washington State quarterback incident when he killed himself. You know, it took that incident to happen for a lot of colleges to shift, you know, their programming, to shift a lot of things they do on campus, because once they seen that tragedy, that's when it became realistic that it could be any one of their student athletes. Yeah. And that's when it caused them to respond so fast. But like Ms. Fonda said, it shouldn't take an incident or a tragedy like that for people to have to respond that certain way. We should already be proactive in the things that we're doing, and I think that's the same case should be in the NFL. But like I said, they do provide us the resources. It then turns on us to be able to reach out and use those resources.
Yeah. So why is this important? This issue important to you?
For me, when I was, you know, going into my second year training camp, you know, my best friend, he was suffering from severe depression for the past 5 years, and me and my mom tried to do everything we could to help him. This has been my best friend since I was 6 years old, right down the street. I mean, we pretty much live beside each other. Pretty much the only real close best friend outside of my brother that I could share everything and anything with. And, you know, about a week before I reported for training camp, I talked to him the day before he died. You know, got a call that, you know, he had committed suicide. And the thing with that was, you know, I pretty much felt like I did everything I could. We tried to get him all the help, you know, the psychologists, you know, the counselors, trying to get him to talk to everybody. Just pretty much tried to show him that even though he was suffering from severe depression, he could still have a very productive life. And I think, you know, personally, I think he died for a bigger cause, because I think if he would have kept living, you know, functionally through that, I would never be, you know, sitting here talking with you today. Like, I would always treat it as like, you know, mental health is just something that people can get over. It's just something that people can get over by themselves. And that's what I always used to tell them. I'm like,
so was his death your serendipitous moment?
His death was when it became very realistic to me that, you know, mental illness and mental health can be affected by anybody. And that's when it caused me to be like, you know, I have to act fast and I have to, you know, speak out against this, because this is what he would have wanted me to do. And now, you know, I'm carrying his life on, you know, by, you know, sitting here talking with you today.
Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things about mental illness is that it's almost undetectable in many instances. You know, if you're, you know, walking the streets, you just don't know someone is impacted by this. So what are some of the signs of mental illness?
Well, the thing is that there's no face to a mental health condition. That's number one. But number two, with depression, for instance, there are 350 million people worldwide that are reported that have depression. But they're saying in the next few years that's going to be the #1 debilitating disease in the world. So for depression, I'll just give you an instance with me. A lot of times you have no energy. It's not that you're being lazy or you're unmotivated, you don't feel well. Sleeping too much, eating too much, changing patterns, giving things away. Depression, as far as the warning signs, are similar to suicide, the warning signs. It's the same kind of thing. Like I said, eating too much, maybe giving things away, things that you enjoy. Just last week, I was sitting in my car. It took all my energy to get my clothes on to go to the gym. And then when I got there, I sat there for 2 hours and could not go in. So it is very debilitating. It's like I said, the not sleeping, the not eating, changing your pattern as far as eating. It's just a terrible, terrible thing to deal with. You know, not being able to concentrate at work, not being able to do your job. It's just all these things that if you see a pattern, you know it's something not quite right.
And so I think society is used to seeing, you know, when you look at mental health or mental illness, it's schizophrenia. That's, you know, that's the most pronounced form that people are actually aware of. What about bipolar? Is that a form of mental illness? Oh, yeah.
Bipolar is the 6th debilitating disease in the world. It's number 6. And bipolar, to me, is one of the hardest ones to deal with, because it's almost 2 mental health conditions in one. You have the extreme manic behavior where you're euphoric, you can do anything. And that's when you have athletes like Johnny Manziel who kept getting in trouble. I knew it was bipolar because of his behavior. They feel euphoric, like anything they do, it doesn't apply to them, the rules don't apply to them, but then they crash into deep depression. That is terrible.
So it's just not mood swings?
Oh no, it's just not mood swings. It's like I said, they go into a manic and then they can crash to, you know, depression. But the #1 mental health disorder is anxiety. The #1 mental health disorder is anxiety.
Obviously, we're all anxious about something. So how do you devolve into a form of anxiety that is debilitating?
Oh, like when you're thinking about something that you can't control a lot of times, and you feel extremely anxious all the time, very tight, very tense. It's also, college students have it a lot. When they're going to school, they're trying to figure out things. College students have it a lot, but I have anxiety. And I've always wondered why I worry about things I can't control, or you just feel this nervousness all the time. And people are like, oh, quit worrying. But it's more than that. It's more than that. You can feel it. All mental health conditions you can feel. People think we can't feel them, but you can.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about mental illness, and we've shared this many times in terms of you being able to go to the gym and work out, and I want to bring you back in, Doug. You know, being part of the NFL is a lot of energy being expended in terms of working out. So tell me about how you're able to overcome those feelings of depression and anxiety using, you know, exercise and you know, workout routines.
Well, for me, you know, I have a lot of things going on from school. You know, I'm back finishing my master's, to football, to, you know, my foundation. And, you know, when I work out and I go in the gym and, you know, I get on the field, it's like my time to put all that away, you know, and that's my time to just focus on bettering myself, just going there and having a good workout, you know, and putting everything else that I have going on in life to the side. Because if I don't do that, like Ms. Bryant said, I will suffer from the anxiety, just worrying about so many things that I cannot control. Like I face it all the time in the NFL because our job is based off of competition.
Yeah.
And most of the time with competition, you have 90 guys and they cut the roster down to 53. It's a lot of things that you can't control. You can't control the injuries. You can't control how the coaches see you. You can't control different plays or different landscapes throughout the game. And you worry yourself all times of the night, all times of the day, trying to figure out how can I control things that I would never be able to control. So when you get a chance to finally work out, it's just like, you know, put all that aside and just worry about the opportunity I have right in front of me.
And that is something in the brain. So I think you call it serotonin?
Serotonin
Yeah, okay.
is something that when I work out, that serotonin starts to kick in, and it brings down that anxiety. It gets rid of the depression, because that depression is with me every day. It sits right here on my shoulder every day, and it's reminding me. I always tell people I could still die by suicide. I have to work hard every day to survive, and that's the thing. You know, people look at you on the outside, and they'll ask you, "How are you doing today, Fonda?" And I'll say, "Fine," but I'm not always fine. And that's the thing. We mask, because not everybody understands. Oh, here she comes again. She's, you know, she's gonna bring me down. And people don't really realize it is a true physical condition. My brain is not getting enough serotonin to it. And when I work out, and whether you're working out or going for a walk or running, walking in nature, all that helps to keep that serotonin
Right,
going.
so you actually feel better. Maybe that's why I've been feeling so, because I've been working out. I've just been doing my push-ups, and you know, I'm doing calisthenics now, so I'm excited about that. Listen, you have a statewide walk that's going to happen in, I think, 2 weeks now?
No, actually, it's Saturday.
This Saturday? I thought you went too late.
Yeah, well, we can still talk about it.
We got time. We got time.
But it's actually this Saturday.
Okay.
It's April 14th. And Doug can tell you a little bit more about it, but it's our walk that we raise money, NAMI, North Carolina, to continue to have the free classes and support groups that we provide. Everything that NAMI provides is free, but we still got to have the money to keep them going. So this money is going to be raised to help the state NAMI, but it also, they break off money to the affiliates too. So it's an important walk for us, and we're glad to have Doug, like I said, an active NFL player involved, because you just don't get those too often.
Now, you're going to be the Grand Marshal or something?
Yeah, I'm serving as I don't know about the Grand Marshal. I'm serving as a chairperson for the event. This year, we're pretty much just trying to celebrate those who have mental, health issues or mental illnesses currently, and celebrate those who are currently still making the best out of their lives. Because, like we said, no matter the illness or the issue that you have, you still have to have a productive day.
That's right.
Productive life. People still expect the same expectations from you. So in order to have this opportunity to lead the walk, I'm gonna have a lot of my teammates there, a lot of my friends and family. So it's gonna be a great event, and I'm very excited for it. And the money is gonna go to a great cause. NAMI does a lot of things throughout the state that people don't really realize, and it takes money to keep those things going.
Absolutely.
So this event is one of the biggest fundraisers they have, and we have to be in full force and making sure that this is a success.
Absolutely. Fonda, if folks are wanting to participate in this walk, how can they?
Well, they can actually,
and if they need to utilize your service, because I think that's more
definitely.
important.
Well, they can go to NAMINC.org, and they can go to the website and pull it up, and it has the link if you want to walk and things like that. I also have it on our NAMI Charlotte Facebook page. You can go on the NAMI Charlotte Facebook page, click on the link, and join the walk. And also, if you need help here in Charlotte, North Carolina, you can go to NAMI-Charlotte.org.
And say that one more time for the camera.
Oh, okay. You can go to, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I need to go back to the NAMI, North Carolina. For NAMI, North Carolina, you can go to the website NAMINC.org. And for NAMI Charlotte, if you need help here in the Charlotte area, it's NAMI, NAMI-Charlotte.org. And we have plenty of people to help, but please don't suffer in silence. You're not alone.
Absolutely. Well, Fonda Bryant, thank you so much for coming in to talk about.
Thank
Doug, let's talk about football. Thank you so much.
I can say one thing about my organization too. My foundation, Dreaming Impossible, we pretty much just help youth, that are suffering from mental health issues or mental illnesses, and still help them realize what their dreams are and still accomplish them. So you can check out my website or my organization at dreamingimpossible.org, and just go down there and shoot us an email. We try to help you as best as we can.
All right. All of this information will be available on our websites, oldschool1053.com and praisecharlotte.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk with you next week.